who can gauge various aspects of your performance. The whole thing is then put together for you, and you're given a feedback report, which essentially tells you what your strengths are and your areas for improvement, if you do it properly. I didn't. I was very sceptical about it, wary, and I actually only asked 3 people to rate me. So what I got was a very neutral report, entirely my own fault. You actually run this again at the end of the course, and the end of the course for me will be in May, and I'm really looking forward to doing it again, because I think I've probably learnt more in the last 6 months than I've learnt in the last 6 years. So I'm really looking forward to doing it again, and I'm hoping there'll be about 30 people rating me next time. So well worth doing, because this kind of tells you where you're going to go. So I went off to the first core day, and there are 3 core days on this course, armed with my suitably neutral feedback report and my bad attitude. And I have to say, the day was fantastic in terms of the people delivering the course, who were professional, well organised, charming. That was superb. The people on the course with me were inspirational. It's great to have a day out and just reflect on your own practice. So that was very exciting. Lots of positive experiences, but most important thing is there was a lot of practical exercises, I suppose. We did a really nice coaching exercise, and it really worked, and it was about real situations. You felt you were taking something back to school with you. It was worth spending the day out. So I left the first day feeling really positive, really encouraged, and actually looking forward to starting some work, which is not like me, and the slide's not come up, so bear with me, and you never know, it might kick back in eventually. So that was around May of last year. I then went home, and I should explain, the course is 3 core days, 2 skills days, and you have to do a minimum of 4 online units. The online units, and I don't know if I can, oh, it's there. Okay, online units are basically made up of 12 segments. Oh, you get a choice of 12 units as well, 12 segments. Try and allow about a day per unit. Actually, you'll want to revisit it. There is so much stuff in these units. But assume about a day, and each segment tells you, I can probably that bit there tells you how long it's going to take. That works for me. That says 50 minutes to coffee time. So that's lovely. So you can see what the timing's going to be, and it's a mixture of audio clips, research documents, caters for all learners, and I do need a lot of catering for. So that suited me down to the ground, and this is where things started to get really interesting. The first unit I did was called Data and Beyond, mainly because I'm not very good with data, and I thought that's the first thing I need to address. But it was interesting because I found out data wasn't something that you beat people up with. Data was to influence learning, and if it didn't, why was I using it? Now, actually, I kind of did know that, but it crystallised it. This was starting to sound more interesting than I'd anticipated, more to do with the job that I was doing. That was really encouraging. I also found out that variation in performance within schools is 4 times greater than variation in performance between schools. In other words, the answers that I was looking for were probably under my nose. I didn't have to go visiting other schools until I'd looked at mine. This was starting to make a lot of practical sense to me. My problem with training courses is they don't seem to relate to my job. I'm too busy for them. This one did. This unit was the one where everything turned for me, leading through influence. It was absolutely inspirational. And I'm not really sure quite why, but there was a terrific document, one of the exemplars from Framwell Gate School, and it had a very brief, one side of A4 about learning conversations. And actually, having looked at it again lately, there's a lot more I should be using to do with learning conversations, but the single thing that struck me about them was single item agendas focusing on learning. Probably sounds fairly obvious, fairly basic, but it made an enormous difference to the way I worked. The other thing about the units is you keep being asked questions. how are you going to use it in your day-to-day role? And you sort of, because of the way the questions are framed, you do actually have to address that. I looked at that and thought, I'm going to do that. I'm sick of my department meetings. They're like housekeeping, information dumps. They are so boring, and we're not doing anything. We're going to have single item agendas that completely focus on one aspect of our teaching, which I did from the beginning of September. And our department meetings now have been completely transformed. So this stuff was changing the way I worked for the better. So then I went off, and in a minute it'll appear, to Core Day 2. Core Day 2 was very much about comparing. Everybody had done 2 units, and we compared units that we'd done. And as a result of Core Day 2, a lot of people were talking about a unit called Understanding Self. I thought that sounded nice because it was going to be all about me. That was great. But the other thing we were getting used to was what was called Talk to Learn. And I'm sorry, my apologies, the slide's not up. Talk to Learn is an online sort of structured chat room where you can talk to people from the same cohort as you. Often the course leaders will initiate a question for a discussion or debate, but equally if you're at a particular part of the course or doing a particular part of the unit, you can compare notes. So reassuring, chatty, so we were getting to know each other. We're very comfortable about saying this one was a really good unit, that maybe didn't work for me, but it might work for you. So Core Day 2, extremely helpful. Again, left feeling very positive and went away to do Understanding Self. Now, what I thought I was going to say about this unit is it was very nice, but I didn't really learn all that much. But it was interesting. However, remarkably, as I was looking through the notes I'd made when I was doing the unit, I found this. Has a need to prove herself. She's nice to everybody at work, and she's cross with everyone at home. Not a good role model. Nobody wants to be her, nobody wants to have her job. It's way too stressful. Needs to reassess and set boundaries. Can't make more time, needs to make better use of time. And I thought, how remarkable, I did a self-evaluation. I don't remember doing that. And then I realised it was not about me at all. It was about a woman on the think piece. And I had done this unit and completely failed to recognise any of the possible danger signals in the way I worked. Fortunately, I recognised it the second time, so we can move on from there now. But it's worrying. So clearly I did learn more than I'd thought, but only by going back to it, and that's what I mean. You've got to keep going back. There's too much stuff to take in. So I went off to one of my skills days on leading high-performing teams. That was really great. The thing I came away with there was the forming, storming, norming, performing, and apparently my team back at school was looking as if they were moving towards performing. Very exciting. Must be getting something right. Second skills day was dealing with challenging people. I think probably I'm the challenging person most people have to deal with, but it made me reflect on the way I deal with people. And I learned not to tackle things instantly, to reflect. Think of 3 points you want to make and make them, regardless of what the other person is doing. Read up on transactional analysis, and that's the other great thing about these days. The course deliverers can always take you one step beyond where they were on the course. So if there's an aspect you like, they can recommend other stuff for you, which is terrific.
Can you press that button?
Yes,
and
I
they're
can.
going to just
the red one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, we've done all this. Sorry, I'm just going to move on. It's not doing it.
Sorry about this. Just a few problems with the technology. We're sorting it out.
That's okay. Okay, so I went back, I'd done my skills days, and I moved on to influencing learning. This was another of my online units, and this was another real epiphany moment for me. As a head of department, I've never been quite comfortable about lesson observations because I felt they may be threatening or they might be intrusive. Teacher's classroom is their territory. I've shied away from them a bit. But this unit suggested you do pop-ins. Now that sounds much nicer to me. Or you talk through the lesson at the end of the day. And what I actually did in the end was to use my learning conversations to create the focus, and as it was preparing our Year 11s for their mock exams. I asked people to invite me into a lesson that